What's up, guys? Benny here with Challenge Reality News, and I am so excited to have Mrs. Kendal Sheppard on here. How are you, Kendall? Thank you
I,
so much for coming on.
thank you. Thank you. Sorry, it's been a long time coming. That is for sure. So I'm happy we could make it work sort of spontaneously.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I'm doing it.
definitely.
No, where am I? Eastern Washington. I was
I love the background.
through the mountains and came to my sister's house. So here we are.
Very, very, very nice. Well, I want to say thank you so much for coming on and talking to me. I am a huge fan of yours since the very beginning. So, we're going to talk about episode 2 of the Challenge All Stars, and I cannot wait. So, we're just going to jump right into it. And I first want to start off with the daily challenge. Sorry, what's up?
I said, or hop. Do we hop right into it?
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. So, the daily challenge was trivia, which I love. So many fans of the challenge love a trivia challenge. And so, when it came to your turn and you got it wrong, you decided to hop to the next one. So, where you didn't like fall into the water. A lot of people were wondering why you did that. So I'm glad I'm able to have you on here and ask you what was the reason, what was going in through your head when you were doing that?
Probably a whole lot of nothing, and I think that's kind of the problem. Um, because you're nervous, right? Like, and that's why trivia is so much fun, and why it's funny is because people's brains like just blank out when you're on the spot. And like Kellyanne couldn't remember primary colors. I don't know if they showed that one. Um, when TJ asked Katie how many people went into this elimination, she's like, I don't know, one. And he's like, how can they compete against themselves? Like we stop because we're under pressure. Um, so I don't know. I'm always like nervous, anxious that I'm going to screw up the rules of whatever it is. And I always have 1,000 questions to ask before we get started. And then I always get cut off. Yeah, but what if? But what if? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this girl, right? Um, so I had it in my mind. Like, okay, every time you get it wrong, like you go forward. And so, but there's only 3 circles. I think they expected us all to fall.
Right.
Otherwise, more, right? There wasn't a rule ahead of time that if it doesn't break, blah blah blah. That just wasn't a thing. So it was something that they sort of came up with on the spot with Arissa. And hers it cracked, but it didn't break, and so he told her to hop, and then she fell through. So I'm like, oh my gosh, don't screw this up, don't screw this up. As soon as I get it wrong, I was like, okay, give it a hop, and I'm thinking hop, I got it wrong, I gotta go forward, and I went, and then I'm like, oh crap, right? But you can't like go backwards, so like shoot, and so TJ was like, that's okay, just turn around and jump that way. And then my brain starts going crazy again. Like, well, is it gonna look the same if I jump the wrong way? Do I have to, as far as what's it called? Continuity goes, right? Because you got to show people phone. I don't know. I was overthinking and talking in that deliberation, much like I am now, telling everybody like every single step because it was there was a lot that went through my mind and nothing at the same time. So it's weird how that happens. So did I? The big thing I guess that people are saying is I was scared, and of course I was. Like I'm scared to get it wrong. I'm scared that I'm going to be the first one out. I'm scared that everybody's looking at me when like I don't like that. So, and this is the first time like I'm meeting TJ. Really, like I don't have experience with him. I haven't done challenges with him before, so I just felt like there was a lot of pressure. And then my brain just frizzed out, and I made a dumb mistake.
When you didn't fall into the water, when you did the hop, did you instantly did you instantly think, you know what, they're gonna send me into elimination? Did that go into your head?
Not immediately. At first, first I was like, "Oh crap! Like, what did I?" And I'm trying to go. Wait a second, this doesn't make sense. And so I was just trying to make sense of it. Um, and then I thought, like, oh no, like I want my boys to see me do this. I'm always telling them to be brave, and because if you're scared and you don't want to do something, just push through, and you might like it. And and here I am, and I don't even fall, and I'm like, oh man. And then I start thinking, well, yeah, I'm probably going to go into elimination, but I kind of felt like it was going to be me, honestly, going into that. And so there's pressure for that too. I don't think that I went in because of the fall. Um, I think for some people who voted that way, I think that was a factor. Other people, I think, already had their minds made up. So then I start thinking, it's not so much about, oh, I don't want to go into elimination. It's more of, so I screwed this up. My kids don't get to see me, like, jump, and
Hmm.
get sent home. And so that's it. Like, that's my experience. That's what my kids are going to see on TV is like, mom messed up this thing and now she's back. Like, I wanted to do something. I wanted to, like,
Right.
to them. I wanted to prove to myself. And then it became, proving to everybody else because they're looking at me like, oh, this girl's she's nothing, And yeah, so there was a lot. There was a lot going through my head. And I must
Well, and
point out, I was not disqualified, right? And I think if I had done something that would impact the game, right, then TJ would have said, okay, you're disqualified. And I would have understood. If it was like, oh, you broke the rule, you're done, I'd be like, dang it, that sucks, but I get it. But he didn't. And so we troubleshooted for a while. And everybody was down there wondering what the heck was going on because we were up there for a while. And I'm walking around trying to figure out how am I going to do this. And then finally he just goes, never mind, just come sit down. I'm like, what do you mean? I said, am I disqualified? He goes, no, you just didn't win. I was like, well, okay. And then he goes, your turn's over. I'm like, well, right. but I don't know. So, and then at one point I was like sitting there just still in my head as Anissa and Ruthie are like ping ponging back. They were up there forever, just the two of them, answer right, answer right, answer right. I was like, dang. And I'm thinking, like, can I just, like, get up and just run off the platform and just, like, jump? And because at that point, now I'm thinking, like, oh, great, this is going to be a thing. Like, if I just jump, then at least I can, like, I did it.
right.
Because I knew that they were all going to have this bonding experience of doing something thrilling together, and I wanted to be a part of it. So I was like, oh, I don't want to be left out.
Hmm.
But so I started to kind of crawl a little bit, and then he was like, "What are you doing? You're gonna shake the platform, don't?" I'm like, "Okay." So then I just sat there and I told Tech about it later, and he's like, "You should have just done it." I'm like, "I'm kind of a rule follower, so I don't really like to, do that." And then what if I would have like tipped the whole thing over? So I don't know. I get in my head a lot. I'm told.
Hmm.
And things, and I think it's sort of a fear that I'm going to do something stupid like that, and so I try to like, oh, I don't know.
Well, I was definitely not disappointed in you that you did not fall into the water because I've seen your season. I've seen your season of the challenge where you won. So I know you're a champ. I know you are a freaking beast. And so it kind of blew my mind how some of the challengers were kind of like they didn't really think that you were like this champion who could really do anything, and so that blew my mind. And I want to know during the deliberation when they were trying to figure out who was going to go into elimination, what was going through your mind when you were trying to get your name out of people's mouths?
Um, gosh, really, the only thing that was really going through my mind was like, get me out of here. Like when I came onto the show and they asked, like, okay, what is your strategy going to be? I was like, what do you mean? They're like, are you just going to win everything? Are you gonna fly under the radar. I was like, I'm gonna fly under the radar. Like, I don't want people looking at me. I don't want to win anything because I don't want to be a threat. I don't want to lose anything because I don't want people to, throw me in. So, but I think I can just stay like middle of the road, like not cause any drama, just like on Inferno, right? That was perfect. I was just in my own little world, floating in the pool in the background. I was not a part of the drama. I got a free vacation and got to do cool stuff. So that's what I'm thinking. Like coming into this, I'm like, okay, this is going to be another awesome vacation and get to do cool things, stay out of the drama. There's always people who like to be in the drama. That's not me. And then like, oh, now it's like everybody's looking at me. I'm like, oh my gosh. If you notice, like in a lot of the group shots, like I'm not really in them. And that's because I'm over my shoulder and I position right there on purpose because I don't want to be in the shots. I don't want everybody looking at me. And unless I want to be seen, and then that's totally different. Most of the time, like I want to be a part of it, but I don't want to be the center of attention. So worst nightmare where I'm having to defend myself, number one, for something that I don't even know why I did, and now I'm having to explain to a bunch of people. And there was a little bit of like manipulation there that just seemed, I don't know, I was just like, is this really happening right now? Where, it wasn't, hey, we've got a couple people we're looking at, so why don't you guys explain, why you think you should not be put in, or why you think so and so should, or why, there was no conversation. There was no everybody turn and talk and say what you're thinking. It was like it was already decided, and then it was Kendall, defend yourself. So I'm like, well, great. Like it doesn't matter what I say at this point because everybody's already decided. And so then I'm like talking, and I'm like, Kendall, stop talking, but I couldn't because they're just out and I couldn't put the words back in, and it was just like looking around like somebody help me, and nobody was helping me, and I'm like, production, can I get some water at least? And everybody's staring at me. I'm like, please. And I think Darrell was like, Kendall, they're not gonna bring it to you. Like, my work nightmare. And not only is it just embarrassing because I did something really stupid, and then I've got everybody looking at me and I have to defend myself. And then it was like there was no life preserver. There was no way out. And so as painful as that deliberation is to watch, because it is, it's also probably a lot shorter than it was because I just kept going. And I was like, oh, help. And I think it was Darrell that was like, all right, I think we get it here. And that was awful. And I knew, I mean, I didn't see the exact looks that they showed on the show, which I thought was kind of funny. But I did some, and every time they would exchange looks, I'm like, I mean, I'm not even given a fair shot. And here I am, I'm supposed to defend my case. And it doesn't matter. It's like, no matter what I say, it's the wrong thing. So I'm like, I see now why Ace was so upset in the first nomination, because everybody says like, oh, you should just just handle it like with pride, and you got this, and you just go in there and you kick butt. And, yeah, easy for you to say until everybody's like looking at you and they're just like picking apart everything you do, trying to find reasons to make it okay to put you in. And so I saw him get really upset, and at the time I was like, geez, Ace, I mean, come on, and then it's my turn. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing the same thing, but what else are you supposed to do? Nobody else wants to go in there. It didn't seem to me like it was anything that had to do with the rules of the game, and it just seemed like it was a decision that people had made up ahead of time, and I just gave them like that extra little nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Reason on a silver platter.
So. Well, you definitely proved everyone wrong. We're going to talk more about that a little later when we get to the elimination. But you mentioned drama earlier, how you wanted to just stay out of the drama, and there was some drama in the house that night between Katie and Trishelle. And so I was very confused about the whole situation. Was Katie in the wrong? Was Trishelle in the wrong? Katie posted on Twitter saying, how she did come up to Trishelle and try to explain everything to her. Can you explain how that fight went down? Like, who was in the wrong, if anyone was in the wrong in that situation?
I mean, it's kind of tough for me to really explain it because I honestly I was asleep. I would get up at like 5:30 in the morning and do yoga while the whole house was asleep. Me and Cyrus were like two old folk there, and we'd sit there watch the sunrise. And I mean, if we had a newspaper, it would just would have been perfect. And so I was generally, well, in the beginning, I went to bed very early, and then you just sort of adjust a little bit. But I could never sleep in. So it was, I guess it was 4 o'clock in the morning. Who knew? We don't have clocks at all. We would joke about, telling the time by where the sun was, and which it didn't even set until 10 p.m. in Argentina. So how do you even? So I mean, there's no way. I know Katie does not go to bed at 4 a.m.
Right.
Like 10 p.m. If that. She's such a rule follower. Um, and so I was asleep, and then all of a sudden I hear Trishelle yelling, and I was like, "What the heck?" And then I just commotion, and then I was like, "Oh man, I'm so glad I am in here," and just flipped back over, put my earplugs back in, went back to bed. So I can't really tell you very much about the fight.
Okay.
I can tell you the next day. It was a very, very different feel. And I was doing yoga, and I came back in and I saw Trishelle hungover, still beautiful. I don't know how anybody can look that pretty when they're hungover, but and so we sat and we had like an hour-long conversation, and it was probably one of the best conversations I've ever had with her. We were roommates however many years ago, like a billion years ago, and never really connected, never really became close friends. And so I was really excited to get to know her as an adult. So that was a really great conversation. And I know from that she was really hurt about the fight. And I don't know. I mean, I really don't even know all the details. From what I've been told, it wasn't just about Katie getting food. There was a lot more to it. It's stressful when you're going into elimination, right? And I don't want to speak for other people, but I don't think that she was really listened to in her choice.
Okay.
I'll if you want to call her up and do an interview and ask her.
That's fair. That's fair. I also want.
Different, but then Katie also, I talked to her not for nearly as long, but I talked to her for a bit, and she was also really upset. And then it's awkward when you are getting ready to go into elimination because they want you to do, Katie calls it the sad pack, where they film you like packing your stuff into your suitcase. And Katie had always said, she's like, whenever I go into elimination, you guys better not let me do the sad pack by myself. so okay, so I had done the sad pack by myself, but oh no, that's not true. I think Jimmy and Johnny, I mean, we had people kind of come in and out, but I just did it really quickly when there's no cameras. And Trishelle was packing, and Katie was in there talking with her, and I came in, and Trishelle was saying like, I just want to go home, and like, no, don't do that. And I think it was just because it's really sickening when you've got a best friend for that many years, and then to have it just fall apart over one night. And I think they were both really upset and both really hurt, and so I don't know that Trishelle would have quit. I mean, maybe she has in the past, but I don't know if that was just sort of like just saying that that's how I feel. Like, I feel like I want to quit, or if she's saying, no, I'm going to. But Katie was definitely encouraging of her to stay and being a friend to her and not letting her do the sad pack by herself. And I kind of saw a lot of value and beauty in that, that they just had this big blow up that, pretty much ruined a friendship, but yet they were still wanting to be with each other and still wanting to support each other and still wanting to connect and talk and be civil. And it's kind of, I don't know, I kind of felt like, and you've got like that person you love, but you're just not healthy for each other, and so you break up, but you're like, oh, but I still love you. I want to be with you, but I can't. And so I don't know, it just sort of had that feeling of like this beautiful sadness, I guess.
Oh no, we lost Kendall. All right, well, I'm gonna try and get Kendall because we were having such a good conversation. I'm sure she's gonna try and get back in. I'm not sure if her battery died or what, but I am sorry, guys. But yeah, Kendall was pretty much talking about the fight between Trishelle and Katie. And yeah, it was interesting because Kendall brought this up, how Trishelle wanted to quit. Katie tweeted that Trishelle tried to quit, but Katie talked her out of it. So I thought that was very, very interesting. Let me see if I can get Kendall back in here. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. This is all live, so the beauty of live streaming. Give me 1 second, you guys. All right, sorry about that, you guys. Hopefully, Kendall will be back very, very soon. But until then, I'm going to continue talking about this episode. So, yeah, this episode was really cool. And one thing that I really like about Kendall was the part where she was saying she didn't come back here for the money. She came back here, to just prove something for herself. She wants her kids to see her do this, and she wants her kids to see the champ that she is. So I thought that was really, really cool. Hopefully, Kendall will be back soon because I want to talk about this elimination. The elimination was epic. For you guys in the live, if you have any questions, go ahead and put the questions in the comment section or in the live chat, and I will try my hardest to read her or ask her those questions. But 1 second, let me see where she is, and I'll be right back. Okay, you guys, so she will be back soon. Again, my apologies. This is what happened when, well, here she is. Okay, I think this is her.
So sorry. My phone's cooler now.
Kendall, you're back.
You need to screw this up. I'm telling you. I am telling you.
You were fine. You were fine. It's all good. So yeah, let's just get right back into it. I was telling them how, I loved how earlier you said you weren't here for the money. You were here to just really prove yourself, and you want your kids to see the champ that you are. So I thought that was really cool, and that goes right into the elimination. The elimination was one of my favorites because we've seen this elimination time after time after time. So you're going against Trishelle. Did you were in your head? What were you thinking? Were you like, I got this, I'm gonna beat Trishelle, or were you a little worried?
No, I was totally worried. All day, like Trishelle and I, it's kind of funny. She thought I was trying to intimidate her. We had a really great conversation, maybe like a month ago, and she thought I was trying to intimidate her. I thought we were bonding, and so we were talking about, going into this elimination, like what kinds of things would we feel comfortable with? What would we not want to do? And Michelle was like, I would not want to do anything physical with against you, like wrestling, which is why it's so funny when she says in the show, she goes, At this point, I would rather wrestle Kendall than do this. And I thought, oh, that's really funny because she said specifically she did not want to wrestle me. And I was like, oh, that's cute. And for me, I would not want to do anything mental or strategic against her. She's like a champion poker player, right? Like she knows like how to strategize and like do that. And I never see. I mean, I don't watch the show. I don't. So for me, I was worried about the mental aspect of it. And so when I see when I see the domes and the not so fast, I have no idea what that is, none whatsoever. So I'm like, oh crap. And everybody's like, oh yeah, this is the one where I'm like, oh great. So everybody knows what this is except me. Cool. But Jarrell, is obviously cheering me on, and John A even kind of whispered, and she's like, okay, when you get to this, like make sure you do it this way, blah blah blah. And I was like, I have no idea what you're saying. I don't, that means nothing to me because I don't even know what it is I'm doing. And you're giving me tips on how to do it, but I don't know what the goal is. And she's like, never mind, you'll just remember this and then it'll make sense later. I'm like, okay. And then she asked me again later if I remember. And I was like, no. And she's like, well, you did it. I was like, okay, well, that's good. But going into it, I didn't know. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know. Yeah, it sounded frightening. 20 minutes, because you have a timer, right? 20 minutes, and it's like heavy and endurance, and there were a couple times I thought, oh my gosh, like I don't think I can do this because they really don't mention the altitude either because we're up in the mountains. And so, that first challenge, everybody's gassing out. Well, like there's an altitude thing there too, where you're not really getting enough oxygen, period, let alone in 49-degree water. But I digress. So, yeah, got a little winded, more so than they show, I think. They make us both look like we're just killing it. And it did a great job. But there were times where I was like, oh my gosh, like how am I going to keep going? Like this is exhausting. And that's why, especially at the end, I really had to dig deep and like really picture my kids. And I also pictured like, if I get sent home, what does that look like? And then, oh yeah, my kids are gonna be like, Mom, why didn't you jump? Which my oldest child, who's 13, when we watched it, he goes, why didn't you jump? I was like, oh my God. And so then I thought, like, okay, my kids aren't gonna see me like jump off this thing, and then they aren't gonna see me win, and I will have wasted 2 weeks of my life just trying to make this happen, not seeing my kids, and like, what is this all for? So in the final moments, that's where like everything is like playing out in my head, and like you just gotta keep going. Like there's no way you can lose this. But going into it, I was not as confident.
Yeah, and I'm sure your kids are so proud of you right now. And I don't know if you realize how big of a deal this is, but if All Stars goes on to be as long as the challenge on MTV, that means you are the very first female to win an elimination on the Challenge All Stars. Like that's gonna be like a trivia question years down the road. Who was the first female to win an elimination on Challenge All Stars? And it was Kendall. So like that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, I like that. And let's not so I won my elimination in Inferno, and now I won that one. So at that point, I'm like 2-0.
You are. You are. You are. Well, and so
Show, and then I guess the first female in Challenge All Stars. I didn't think about that. That's pretty cool.
yeah, no, that's huge. That's huge. You're a freaking legend, Kendall. You're a legend. You're not only a champ, but you're a legend.
Funny. They asked us like why we thought we were there, right? Because it's like All Stars, and I'm like, I don't know. Like I've done one show. I've no idea. No
Hmm.
idea. And I don't know if it's because I'm not dramatic. Like I don't start fights. I don't start controversy. But for some reason, it follows me. Like if you remember the Inferno and Mike going crazy, and it's like I'm surrounded by it. Maybe that's what they saw. I don't know,
Mhm.
but now I feel like so many people online would just say, "Oh, Kendall, she won that elimination in Inferno, but she was carrying bricks. Who cares, right?" And so now I'm like, you know what? Now you've seen like something that's more physical, something that does take mental strength, something that is more current as opposed to, I don't know, a card game or eating something or, back in the day. So I feel really good, very accomplished just in that one. In fact, immediately afterwards, I thought I could go home now. Like I did something to do, like I accomplished something. I feel really great about it. Whereas after the challenge, and and falling short, should I say, um, I did not feel like it was time. Like I couldn't go home then because I wasn't proud of anything that I had done. And after that, like laying there on my back for like ever, I just laid there and looked at the stars and was like, this is amazing. All the lights coming down, all the people and the noise and the stars. I mean, it was just, I soaked it all up. It was really incredible.
You deserved it. You definitely deserved it. And that leads me to my next question. So I would be amazed, I would be shocked if All Stars was not picked up for a season 2, a season 3, a season 4. If you get the call, if this show is picked up for like another season and you get the call to come back, are you going to do it? And if you get a call to come on to the challenge on MTV, would you come back and do that?
Oh man, the $1 million question, right? Yeah. I mean, I won't. I don't want. I can't disclose too much, but yes, All Stars, I would do. I would do.
Okay, cool.
I mean, it was so fun. I mean, every time we go to a challenge or elimination or whatever it is, I felt like it feels like being a kid again, and like they prepped all of these games, basically, this cool stuff, just so that we could do it. Like, that's amazing. And so, like, I would pay money to go do those things. And here they are, just like, putting them together for us to go enjoy. Like, that's awesome. So I think I'd be a fool not to want to have, those experiences, kind of test myself again. The drama and the politics and all of that stuff is hard, and that would be one reason to consider, not. Um, but I think if things worked out right, um, yeah, I would do it for the first reason, just being able to test yourself, and just play as an adult. And as far as the full season, I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't. It was so hard on my kids to be gone for 2 weeks. In fact, when we were watching it, this last show, my middle child was like, "Don't ever leave us for that long again, okay?" I was like,
Oh,
maybe once more. I was like, Mom, and so, oh gosh, I would definitely have to beg for more phone calls home because we did not get enough, and that I think is really difficult for kids and moms,
right.
and so that's the reason why I couldn't do a full length. Now, if they want me to come in like as a mercenary, like halfway through or something, I would do that. But I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go. Like some people will go and just get kicked off so that they can go back to work or whatever their timeline is, and I couldn't do
Mhm.
that. I wouldn't. I'm a terrible liar. I would not be able to contend. I would, I don't know.
Nice. I,
I
I
would.
like I like that answer.
I wouldn't. You get too caught up in it. I wouldn't be able to shut it off. I don't think. Um.
Hmm.
So yeah. So yes to All Stars. No, unless for the big full challenge.
Gotcha, gotcha. And so, speaking of All Stars, and final question, Kendall. Speaking of All Stars, what was it like being back in the house all those years later? Was it the same feeling? Was it different? How was it to step back into that spotlight again. Oh, and we lost her again. No. All right, you guys. I'm gonna give it a little bit. If she doesn't come back, I'm just gonna wrap it up because I pretty much asked her everything I wanted to ask her. But yeah, it was really great having her on. She's such a sweet, amazing, amazing woman, and I'm so glad that she is thriving during this season. And because we only saw her one season on the challenge, so I'm so excited that she's doing so well, and I hope she continues to do well this season because, like I said, she's a champ. She is a legend. And yeah, I would love if the Challenge All Stars comes back for a season 2. Of course, I would love to see her come back for a season 2, a season 3. Like I just want to see, I want more Kendall, and I know a lot of people want more Kendall as well. We're gonna give it a couple more seconds to see if she comes back. I think her phone overheated again. But yeah, for you guys in there, let's see, what other questions did you guys have? How do you feel about Jemmy? Huh? Do you still keep in touch with your campus crawl castmates? Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Because, yeah, Kendall was on campus crawl. I feel like they did a reunion not too long ago, like via like Zoom or something. I feel like they posted that on their Instagram. But let's see. 1 second, guys. I'm going to see if Kendall will be back soon. All right, hopefully we'll get her back. Sorry, you guys. It's live. It happens. But yeah, here she is.
Can you see me? Am I here? Am I back?
Welcome back, Kendall.
Sorry.
You're fine. You're all good. You're all good. So yeah, I just had this last question for you. Just like, what was it like for you being back in the Challenge House after all these years? Because you hadn't been on since the Inferno.
Right. Yeah. It was the social part of it was a lot harder for me this time, that's for sure. I didn't know anybody. I knew people, a lot of which I hadn't seen in 15 years. Whereas they continued to do shows together. And so, Anissa's done 14. And then you've got other people who have done like 8. And if you look at the plaques with our faces on it in the deliberation ceremony, there's stars that have, the number of challenges you've done. And so I would stand, look, and be like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then you've got me with my 1. I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage here. The only thing I could hope for is that there was like, people left on bad terms or something, and then maybe like they would side with me, not because they like me, but because they need someone to like pair up with. And that really didn't happen for me. So that part was hard.
Right.
But at the same time, I was also very excited to see some people like Tech. As soon as I saw him, I was like fangirling all over the place and really embarrassed, and I couldn't shut that off, and that was embarrassing. And yeah, it was really cool. And I just kept saying, like, is this really happening? Like, can you guys believe this? And I think all of us were really in disbelief that we were doing this so many years after thinking we were done, right? And we just were like, dang, I can't believe it. And then we'd laugh, like, this is crazy, just out of nowhere. You got a bunch of 40-year-olds. Like, who wants to watch a bunch of 40-year-olds compete? Like, that's weird. But it was an amazing group of people. Every single person had something unique to bring. I've thought about it. Like, would I have replaced anybody? And I wouldn't. It was such an awesome cast. So that part was great. But there were
That's
times I got back and just in the middle of a challenge, and I don't know if they'll capture me saying that, but where I just kind of stop and like I'm just in awe of just the entire experience, and that you just never know where life is going to take you. You really don't. And I think that's what I find so cool about this is that I joke about being a mom making mac and cheese and wearing yoga pants, but that's my life. And yeah, I did reality show a long time ago, but I'm like full blown mom now. Like I don't wear makeup half the time. It's frightening. So like to have us go back into normal lives and be normal people, and then all of a sudden we're like thrown back in the limelight. It's kind of wild, and it just makes you think like just because you turn 40 doesn't mean you can't do stuff. It doesn't mean that you are running out of time. It just means like you just kind of gotta adjust your frame of mind and say start writing that bucket list. What are the things that I want to do, and do them.
I love that. I love that. And it's crazy because you proved that. You proved that on the latest episode, and 40 is the new 20. We're saying it right now. 40 is the new 20. Well,
help with that. So
right. Well, Kendall, I could talk to you literally all day, but I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I was talking to you earlier and saying how like I was such a big fan of yours during the Inferno. So to see you come back and you're on this show, I'm so excited to see you. I hope you make it far this season. Any final words for your adoring fans?
Oh man, no pressure or anything, right? I guess there's something that I'm kind of working on. Along with anything's possible, right? And I think for so long I just kept telling myself like, that's just not in the cards for me or whatever. And then and to quote Russell Wilson, why not me, right? So there's something that I'm kind of working on. We're so close to really having something to show, but I don't know, keep your eyes open. I think people are going to be excited. I mean, maybe not everybody. A few people will be really excited.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so when I can tell you more, I will let you know, Benny. And then if you want to get the word out, you can.
Also, of course, please let me know. And real quick, because I really do want to mention this. And this is completely off topic from the challenge, but I really, really want to say thank you for all of the hard work and the help that you've been doing during the COVID-19 crisis and during the pandemic, because I know you do a lot with that. And I don't know if you wanted to tell the viewers about what you do and how you've really been contributing, because you've been contributing a lot. You've seen a lot of the frontline stuff.
Yeah. It's different. I mean, where I'm at, I'm a nurse. I'm in hospice, and so it's a little different take. I love to watch. Dan Renzi, Real World. Real World is
Okay.
something. Go to his Instagram page. Oh my gosh, it's amazing because he's a nurse. He's a nurse in New York, and like doing COVID, and he always has these stories and really like eye opening for the people who aren't experiencing things. And he tells you feel like you're there with him. For me, for what I do, I take care of patients with terminal illness. How COVID affects that is, patients are dying from cancer, right? They know that, they've accepted it, they're okay with that. But then you throw in COVID. And so they're like, well, wait a minute, I'm okay dying from cancer, but I'm not okay dying tomorrow from this new virus, right? And so you've got nursing homes that I have to go in and out of, and adult family homes, people's houses, wherever they live, I go. And that's really scary, because they know that I'm going to all of these different places, and whatever I pick up at one spot, I can deliver to them. So we have to go through a lot of safety precautions. But the other side of that is there's a lot of people who are dying who don't get to say goodbye to their family members. And so sometimes I end up being that family member for them. You know, if that means spending a little bit more time with them in their room, or calling so and so and getting them on a video call so that they can connect with them. And you know, it's taken things to a different level, and it really breaks your heart. I mean, why I do hospice, why people get into hospice, is to make the final days like as good as they can be. And remove like everything that you say you have to do. You know, you should be on a low sodium diet, you should check your blood sugars, and we say it's hospice, who cares, do what you want, right? Like, live your life, I'm going to help you do that. And then you get all these restrictions from COVID, and it's like, oh, gosh, it just makes you feel defeated as a hospice nurse, because you want to give them everything that they want in life, and you can't. So so that's where I'm at. I did actually have a patient who had lung cancer, and was on hospice, and her time was coming very quickly. And then she tested positive for COVID, and died rather quickly. And that was, I think, 2 days before I took the first COVID test for All Stars.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, so we weren't aware that she had COVID when I was in the room. And so we didn't realize that she was positive until after she passed. And then, like, well, crap. So, I mean, there's all these layers, like, oh man, is it too soon? Is it going to show up on this positive test? I had some stress, like, if I'm positive and it's just not showing, and then I go on this show, and then I infect the whole cast, and now I'm responsible for that. And so, I mean.
Oh no, she left again. All right. Well, she was wrapping up. I'm sorry, she cut off again during that important topic. But thank you guys so much for coming on to watch this another episode of Challenge Reality News. You guys are awesome. You guys are great. And stay tuned for next week when I go over episode 3. And stay tuned for more guests, because we're just getting started, you guys. All right, you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next week.